And it was really the highest degree of poverty I never encountered. I can give an example. In that outstation, I'd never had like you go for a week to evangelize, but there was no meat. You always eat a sauce, the leaves of baobab tree. Oh. One day, I remember I saw meat. I visited, and for the first time I would eat meat. But when I saw the palm of a monkey, I thought kind of a human being, and it really cut off my appetite. And really, I said, no, let me take my leave. Then,
Greetings to you all who are following us, and thank you for joining into this conversation. And today we have a special guest. We are privileged to have Father Gobbo Wilbert, who is a Mission of Africa and also a priest in the Catholic Church. He is lecturing at Cedar St. Joseph Theological Institute in South Africa. And 2 days ago, he celebrated his 20th year of anniversary of priesthood. And before we congratulate you, Father Gobbo, for the priesthood anniversary. 20 years is really quite a journey, and would like you to tell us your story in his form of question I have prepared. And the first one, I would like to know if I have really forget to mention something about Wilbert Gobbo.
No, I think that's me. Thank you very much. Yes.
And can you please tell us about your priestly journey, formation, of course, and the ministry as priest?
Yeah, I was born in Tanzania. It was in my secondary school when I felt a call to become a missionary. When I told my father, at first he was hesitant because I was kind of a pillar of the family. But then when he saw I was really determined, he said, "My son, I quote, I give you a green light." And from that day on, he started really supporting me. Therefore, as regard to my journey, I started philosophy in Tanzania. I did what we used to call Kahangara in Mwanza. I did it 2 years. In the third year, I finished in Arusha. After the 3 years of philosophy, I was appointed to do my spiritual year in Burkina Faso. We were the pioneers to begin what we call the spiritual year in Bobo Dioulasso. After 1 year of spiritual year, I was appointed to go to Mali, where I did 2 years of pastoral experience. After that, I went to London, where I did 4 years of theology. I was ordained in 2004 on the 4th of August, the feast of John Marie Vianney, who is the patron saint of all parish priests and all priests, really a holy man. Just an antidote, when I was asked by the congregation to follow the formator's cause in Châtelet in France, I wanted to know why the Archbishop wanted to ordain me on the 4th of August. Because when I was in UK, I told him I've finished my studies. I was doing a master's in theology. I said I've finished. It was in June. But it wrote to me, "Gobbo, I will ordain you in August, the 4th of August. But he ordained all other priests in June and July." I really didn't understand. But when I was in Lyon, I said, let me go to Ars, where it's really a place of Jean-Marie Vianney. When I reached there, I almost cried to see the holiness of Jean-Marie Vianney, because they say he was kind of buried for some over 40 years. When they removed his body, remained intact. And if you reach at the basilica where it's really dedicated to him, they are like 24 hours masses. And the moment you enter, you find his body dressed as a priest, and there you see as if you are really seeing him physically. And always there are people coming to pray, you know. Us was a small village, but because of the personality of John Marie Vianney, it became really a very big town. There are 2 permanent congregations which are taking care of people who are coming for pilgrimage. There is a priestly congregation and also a congregation of sisters. Really, he really changed completely the event. And what touched me when I visited his room, it was said that he could sleep for 4 hours. The rest of the time, it was like he was doing a lot of confessions, because people were coming all over from France, Europe for confession to him. They said he could spend over 12 hours in a confessional box. There is even an antidote that even his bottom part had wounds because he spent many hours in a confessional box. And he was really a holy man. When you reach there, you are just touched by his holiness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next question actually is double. I would like to know if you had some doubts as a priest. And another question attached to it, I would like to know how did you realize really that God was calling you to serve him as a priest? What kind of sign did you get, or what kind of feeling did you have? For those who may wish to discern the vocation to the priesthood, is there any kind of particular sign you got?
I can say, as I was growing up in the primary school, I was never an altar boy. I was going to mass every Sunday. My mother was still up to now, very committed Christian. But personally, I was going every Sunday, but I'd never really thought of becoming a priest. My dream was to become a medical doctor like my father. But then one day I was following a religious class in secondary school, I think Form 2. Then I don't know what that sister who was teaching us said. It just touched me. I don't remember the exact words. And I remember that very day I went to tell my father, I think I want to become a priest. For the first time, I saw tears coming from the face of my father. That really challenged me a lot, because he had by then, I think, kind of his own, not really hospital, it's kind of a health center, and was imagining that I will succeed to that. But then when I told him that, it was kind of a blow. And that helped me to discern. I said, what is priesthood? I know they don't marry, how they live. Then I said, as I'm kind of going against the wish of my father, let me try from now on to live these values. If I find it's a challenge, then I forget about it. And in fact, when I finished Form 4, I wanted to join minor seminary. My father said, no, please, just go, because you have succeeded very well, just continue with the government. Then if you still find that you have the vocation, then thereon you can join. As I joined the secondary school, I found myself in touch with so many congregations, and I applied, I think, to 6 of them, and all of them, they accepted me. Now it just happened that the White Fathers, Father Paul Leblanc, who was by then our provincial, was working at the hospital to visit the sick, and he knew my father personally. When he got my application, he processed everything, and everything came so quickly. Then I just decided to join, because I also knew what they were doing with the Cardinal Lavigere. I was really attracted. Therefore, I can say the reluctance of my father helped me really to purify my vocation, to make kind of a serious discernment, and also to check myself. Because had he said, yes, you go, maybe I wouldn't have considered or taken it serious as I had to take, because it was like going against the will of my father. But later on, when he saw that I was very committed, one day he said, my son, I give you a green light. And from that day on, he started supporting me. Thank you.
Have you ever, since then, like, questioned whether really this was a genuine kind of answer to God's call, or have you had doubts in your life as a priest?
No, doubts, no. I must be sincere in that regard. Doubts, no. I can say maybe I was lucky. All the places I've been, when I was doing my spiritual year, it went very well. When I was doing my stage, I was in a very nice community, you know, encouraging one. When I was doing my studies in UK, it went very well. And even in my mission, I did like 6 years in Niger before being part of the formation team. I've really always found myself comfortable wherever I've been. Really doubts, no.
Okay, thank
you. But of course,
much.
Challenges, they are part of life. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the next question, actually. Can you mention some challenges? Maybe you can still remember that this one I encountered and it was so hard for me to deal with. And again, I would like you to link it with a message for those in the theology houses, information, preparing themselves for to be a priest, and from your experience of joys you have shared already, then again, challenges, what can be your message to them?
Yeah, one of the challenges which I experienced was in my early years of priesthood. After 1 year in building Koni, I was appointed to go to Zenda, you know, to work as in the parish team. And it was really the level of poverty which I encountered. In fact, I had also experienced the level of poverty in Mali when I was visiting the outstations. I remember there was one outstation, there was not a single person who had gone to school. Then as a church, we had to set up what we call kind of adult, class programs in order to help them at least read and write in order to be catechized. And it was really the highest degree of poverty I never encountered. I can give an example. In that outstation, I'd never had like you go for a week to evangelize, but there was no meat. You always eat the sauce, the leaves of baobab tree. One day, I remember I saw meat. I visited, and I said, for the first time, I will eat meat. But when I saw the palm of a monkey, I thought kind of a human being, and it really cut off my appetite. And really, I said, no, let me take my leaves. And that was a challenge. Another challenge, of course, was in a house of formation. I think in one of our houses of formation, there was a kind of a crisis which really kind of affected the students, and that thing was quite painful. And thanks Lord, it was kind of resolved, because when you are in a house of formation and then you see students are divided, the staff are divided, it can really be a counter witness. Those I can say they are the two challenges which I experienced in my mission life. But thanks Lord, they were overcome there.
And what can it be your message then to those who are really on a journey to priesthood and formation houses, and already you are one of the formators? What can it be your message?
For me, I think this life without Christ, it cannot make any sense. John Marie Vianney used to say, to be a priest according to the heart of Christ. That is, as priests, we participate in the eternal priesthood of Christ. Therefore, if a student is not kind of uniting his life with Christ, then he can easily be discouraged. Therefore, for me, I would say, if I can insist on one thing, is really a solid prayer life. For me, without a solid prayer life, this life can be a great challenge. But with a solid prayer life, you can overcome any sort of challenge, because somebody said, prayer is like, electricity. When you are connected, then you can bring light. Therefore, without being connected to Christ, you can easily be discouraged and find yourself doing something else. And really, our founder, when he said, be apostle, nothing but apostles, he really insisted that being one with Christ. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And my next question concerns your ministry as a lecturer at the institute in Sedara. So one of the modules you are lecturing is feminist theology, and among other modules you have, and in this module there is the question of ordination of women to priesthood, of course deacons as well. I'd like to know, is there any hope, or do you see yourself one day conservating with a woman Catholic priest?
Thank you for your question. I just want to highlight, I started teaching women doing theology or feminist theology since Ivory Coast. I took it from a Jesuit lecturer. I also, here in South Africa, I teach also at UKZN, and I supervise research papers at different levels. Among the research papers I supervise, there are always female pastors, and I also teach 2 subjects. Even today I was teaching. There are always female pastors, and what they do at times is just amazing. Therefore, in other churches, it's not a taboo. It's even highly appreciated, because we must be aware that women, they are over 50% of human population. Therefore, empowering them is not a bad thing. However, I'm also aware on the tradition of our Catholic Church, and of course the debate which has occurred, and also the position of magisterium. It remains a theological question. Is priesthood and womanhood mutually exclusive? That is a complicated theological question. However, from theological point of view, you can argue for or against. If you argue for, of course, the main argument will be Jesus Christ was man. And among the 12 apostles, they were only men. And there you'll be really right, according also to the orthodox theology of our Catholic Church. On the other hand, also, you can see the possibility of the ordination of women. Let me just give the example of John Marie Vianney. She said, John Marie Vianney said, Mary could have easily taken the host and say, this is my body, because the body of Christ comes from her. But of course, she's just there in total humility. And also another thing which is important is to remember that Mary Magdalene was the apostle of the apostles. She is the one who was first sent by Jesus. Apostolos in Greek, it means to be sent. In Latin, it's missus, to be sent. That is a missionary who is sent. Therefore, you can say Mary Magdalene is really the apostle of the apostles, the first missionary, because she was sent to announce to the apostle that Jesus is risen. However, you can also give credit to Christ by limiting himself to the apostles, to men, because during his time, they were not at all, women were not accepted, because that was the culture. It was a patriarchal culture where the witness of a woman was not even credible. Therefore, to entrust this mission to women at that time, it was just impossible. Of course, I'm aware from the point of view of the magisterium, especially with Pope John Paul II, he said the debate is closed. Just to mention a Jesuit who wrote something saying about he had a dream. Of course, you can't condemn somebody with a dream. And he said, I dream a pope die, then there is a conclave, then, at first there is like a black smoke because they haven't come to a consensus. Then afterwards, a white smoke. Then he comes to announce at St. Peter's Square, Habemus Mamam. That is, we have a female pope. Of course, it was a dream that, let's say, 1,000 years with a change of theology, maybe the history can oblige us. I can't say whether the magisterium is right or wrong. Of course, I respect the magisterium and I follow what is there. But theologians, they have a right to speculate, to dream. Before we used to say, Roma locuta causa finita. Rome has said the cause is over. Nowadays, some hold that Roma locuta causa incepta. Rome has said it's the beginning of the debate, reflection. Therefore, as regard to your question, for me, I'm a faithful son of the church. I teach the orthodoxy of the church, but being also a theologian, you are to be conscious of the reality, because you go to some places. On Sundays, I go for mass, say 2 mass in Isizulu, in outstation kwa Mzimba or kwa Mpumuza. I can say in some outstation, 95% they are women. Now, in case it reaches a time where there are no at all men as priests, like it happened in Europe, you will have to think for plan B. I'm not saying that the debate should be totally closed, but history can oblige us maybe to listen different to the Holy Spirit. And who am I to judge that maybe in some thousands of years it can be a different situation? Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. My next question is out of curiosity. Recently, you have been selected as one of the commentators on the 16 documents of Vatican II, and you have had a meeting. I remember you went for a meeting in Belgium, if I'm not mistaken. I would like to know what can really the people of God expect from these commentators, and is it in view of Vatican III, something like that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me explain a little bit about the program which is called Vaticanum. This program started, I think, if I'm not mistaken, around the year 2000. So far, up to now, we have few individual commentaries of one or other document of the 16 documents of Vatican II. We don't have any single international commentary of the 16 documents of Vatican II. You know, the Vatican II document or a council has a very big authority theologically, ecclesiastically, because it is the voice of all church leaders or the church in general. And Vatican II, which has been a pastoral council, has really come to a lot of very fruitful kind of documents. We have 4 constitutions and a lot of decrees and a few declarations. And now the project is really to produce the first ever international commentary. And the whole idea is to make sure that the voices of all the continents are there. So that because some of the critiques of Vatican II said the African voice, the Asian voice is really almost not there. Just to mention, during Vatican II, there was only one African cardinal who was from Tanzania, Cardinal Rugambwa, who was a kind of really African cardinal. And a few bishops, some missionaries coming from Europe, but the voice of Africa was not really highly represented. Then the aim of this project is to make sure that we have a commentary of all the documents from the 5 continents. Therefore, how is it done? There will be 12 volumes. So far, each continent will have a volume. There will be introductory volume and concluding volume. And then there will be 5 other volumes of commentaries. And myself, I'm working on Gaudium et Spes. Therefore, at the level of African volume, we are almost finishing. I was also asked to be one of the editors. We are almost finalizing the African volume. But then at the level of Gaudium et Spes, I have some few chapters where I'm commenting, and also the overall work. And there we are 5 from the 5 continents. We have been having Zoom meetings. We met in Pretoria, we met in Belgium, we met in Rwanda and elsewhere, and the work is really going well. For ordinary Christians, we try to make sure that it's accessible not only to scholars, but even to our brothers and sisters, Christians in parishes, so that the church document, they just not remain only in libraries, but they are really accessible to everyone. And we also, it's really a thorough work, because we study first the situation before Vatican II. We discuss all the voters, the desideratas during the Vatican II, then the reception of the document, and even we project the future. Therefore, it's really a very comprehensive work, coordinated, of course, by the universities in German, because they are normally very thorough. And we believe once all the 12 volumes will be accomplished, it will really be a great work. They will be translated in several languages. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm heading already to the last question, which is to us. We are talking about dreaming. How do we dream? How do you dream, for instance, the church in 20 years? You have been a priest for 20 years. For sure, you have been a lot of changes in the church, of course, in the Society of the Mission of Africa as well. How do you dream the church, the Catholic Church in 20 years, the Society of the Mission of Africa in the 20 years to come? And that will be also linked to the message you can give to those who are following us.
Thank you very much. I would say the ecclesial gravity, that is the center of gravity of the church, is shifting. We can say it has almost shifted from the north to the south. Now you find when we were in Belgium, we had a conference, and the theme was kind of related, as if I've forgotten the exact title, but if I paraphrase, it's like the church in Europe is dying. And if you are there, you go to some churches, you find basically old people, very few young people in many churches. But if you go, let's say, to Africa, to Asia, to Latin America, you are really surprised by the vibrance of the young population embracing faith. Therefore, the center of gravity is really shifting. And it's important to see, for example, how small Christian communities, which is a new way of being church, has helped the church in Africa, Asia, Latin America, really to be active. And for me, I really believe that time will come when Africans, people from Asia, from the South in general, they will have to find means and ways to re-evangelize Europe and also Latin America. We see also even in our society as Missions of Africa, before majority were from America and Europe. But now here in our formation, we basically don't have any white person. And the center of gravity is shifting. Of course, there are also some challenges which are facing Africa in terms of finance, in terms of funds, and so many other things, tribalism and so forth. But we are to be aware of the reality, and we can see how can we ensure, first and foremost, to continue the mission, but also, as in the society, most of the funding were coming from Europe and America. Now we have to see how can we really regenerate funds, knowing that the future is really shifting, so that the mission can continue. As somebody say, we can speak of never changing message, but ever changing mission. That is, the mission will always change, but the message of Christ will always be the same, which is based on love and mercy.
Any further message? We are almost heading to the conclusion of our conversation.
Yeah, just to say thank you very much for this interview. I'm really very grateful for the 20 years. It's not 20 days, but I'm really grateful to be alive and to be able to render service to the church, to our society, and also to the human society at large. And my dream is really to have many young people, men and women, embarking on mission. And by saying men and women, it's not only religious mission, because church is missionary by nature. Therefore, once you have committed Christians in the parishes, for me, that is a way of being missionaries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also for your time, for allowing us to have this conversation with you. And we once again congratulate you for your 20 years of priesthood. It is really a grace and also something to be thankful for. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All the best. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Happy